My name is Kate Fitzpatrick, and my gender pronouns are she, her. I'm the manager of human resources at BC's Office of the Human Rights Commissioner. Before we dive in, I'd like to begin our call with a territorial acknowledgement. So today we might be joining from different places around the province or even further abroad. I invite you to please take a moment and reflect with gratitude and respect for the lands on which you are joining us today. Today, I'm calling with respect from the traditional and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, now referred to as East Vancouver. And it is my privilege to live, work, and raise my family on this territory. I would also like to recognize the ancestral and continuing connection to these lands of the Métis people. So today I have the great honor to be here with Chitta Manoranjan, who is our manager of engagement. Before I pass the microphone to Chitta, I'll just do a quick overview of what we're going to cover today. Chitta is going to give you some information about our office mandate, just who we are, why we exist, as well as the engagement team and some more information about the role. I'll be providing a high-level overview of our organization structure, and I'm here to really just speak to the hiring process and HR-related items. We'll be welcoming questions for you at the end of the presentation, so please use the Q&A chat function. You may have heard just now the session's being recorded, and we do that just for candidates who might not have had an opportunity to attend in real time. We will post the recording to the careers webpage over the next few days. So if you're watching after today, a warm welcome to you as well. The audio and chat functions are turned off, so please submit your questions through the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll make best efforts to answer your questions in real time at the end. There's an option for you to submit your questions anonymously using the Q&A function. As an anonymous attendee, we will not read anyone's names out with a question. Closed captioning is enabled, so you may need to select show subtitle if you're having any technical difficulties. You can always just please send a note in the Q&A if you're having trouble. And with that, I will pass it over to Chitta.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us, everyone, as well. I know this is probably a lot of questions and curiosities to come work with us and learn about what we have open here. This is an opportunity to join our team. As Kate mentioned, I'm Chitta. I'm the manager of engagement with the office. I've been here for about 4 years, so it feels like time has flown by. I had to do a double check earlier to confirm, like, was it 3 or 4? I can't quite remember because time flies when you're doing work that's really meaningful and working with some really interesting folks. And in a time where human rights is so, it's always important, but it feels more front and center these days. I'm also calling in here from the unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, and really appreciate getting the chance to work in the province where there are so many nations and histories and cultures that overlap, and understanding the ways that that intersects with human rights as well, and the work that we do. Um, I'm going to share a little bit about the office, and I have some slides here for us. Um, Folks, you might already know if you are interested in applying with us, but it's a good way just to ground us to where we are. Um, BC's Office of Human Rights Commissioner, which we call BCHRC, or the office, you'll hear us say as short because it's a mouthful, was reinstated in 2019 after 17 years without a commissioner in BC. And so BC's Human Rights Commissioner, Cassandra Govender, who's pictured here, started her first term in 2019, and she's been reappointed to her second term starting in September 2024. So she'll be with us until 2029. And as you can see again on the slide here, that we've got a mandate to exist, I mean, that we exist rather, to address the root causes of inequality, discrimination, and injustice in BC by shifting laws, policies, practices, and cultures. And we do this work in one line through education, research, advocacy, inquiry, and monitoring. One of the core parts of our work is also that we're an independent office. So the commissioner is an independent office of the legislature. And what this means is that she reports to all of the MLAs in legislature, not necessarily to one party or the party in power. And so this allows us to all work a bit differently, so we can act independently of the government of the day. And this is important to us in that we're able to monitor activities of both government and organizations that hold responsibilities under the Human Rights Code in BC, and the autonomy allows us to provide recommendations to government and legislature as a whole. And we take our independence quite seriously as well. You'll see, as Kate will mention later on, as part of our hiring process, there is a conflict of interest check that we have in the whole timeline and what you can expect. But I'll let Kate get to that when we go there. It's also worth noting that our office is different from the Human Rights Tribunal and the Human Rights Clinic. Both of those serve different functions. We have a systemic mandate, whereas the tribunal has a complaints mechanism, and the clinic provides more legal support. And so, just to distinguish how we work in unison as three kind of organizations within BC tasked with human rights. Of course, if you're interested in learning more about our office and our strategic priorities for 2025 to 2030 and other initiatives that we're working on, look at our website. There's lots in there that's really useful to read through. Here we are. And to orient us to the office, we're a small but mighty team. We've got the commissioner, of course, that we all report to and get our authority from, the deputy commissioner, and you can see 5 different departments here tasked with different focus areas of how we work. This role with the engagement coordinator falls within the education engagement department, which has the education team and the engagement team, which I oversee with 4 engagement advisors who are working regionally in BC, and the engagement coordinator, who will, all of us will work across the teams in our office. We're quite a collaborative, connected office in all of our work. Keep sliding along here. So I'll try to get us time for questions. And again, use the Q&A function if folks have any questions that come up as we speak along. Again, this position will report to me as the manager of engagement. And really the function is to receive and respond to external requests for information or engagement that come in. And provide coordination for external events. It's a very public-facing role in that way, and so you will see a lot of what we ask for when you go to submit your application. That we're looking for someone who brings experience with analyzing stakeholder requests and drafting, editing correspondence. We're looking for folks who have trauma-informed approaches in dealing with public and vulnerable people. Again, we serve all of BC. We're looking for folks who can maintain confidentiality when dealing with sensitive information, and they're able to coordinate and manage events. And that's largely internal facing, some external facing pieces as well. And folks who can bring familiarity and comfort with Microsoft Office tools and customer relationship management platforms and data systems, or you're able to learn software. In our office, for CRM, we use Borealis. So if you know Borealis, that's will be an easy transition for you. And if not, we have many folks who are trained enough to help you get your feet on the ground. And this position is based in Vancouver as well. We're looking for folks who can be in the office for up to 2 days a week and can work remotely for three days per week. And that might fluctuate as well. You'll see in the posting that's detailed a bit more. So is this job right for you? I'm sure that's why folks are here, to kind of get a sense of who these folks are who are hiring, and am I the right person? If you're detail-oriented, there's a lot of need for careful responses that are legally accurate, that are avoiding delays, any potential complaints that come through to us that shouldn't be coming to us, but to somebody else. We're looking for folks who might be interested in innovating the systems that we work with and developing more streamlined procedures, able to plan events and projects with all the details that go into it. Looking for folks who have interest in working with subject matter experts in human rights. We have an office of really intelligent people who come from a breadth of experiences, really add to the richness of how we work. And there's a lot of opportunity in learning about human rights, the human rights system in BC and thinking and working with experts to construct responses. We want folks who are service oriented. Again, it's a front-facing role. We meet very many different folks across BC and both virtually and emails, through phone calls and in-person events. And so I want someone who can bring that care and care to people in the public, to marginalized folks, and have a warmth and meet the tone of what's needed in the moment. Again, in writing, in phone calls, in person, whatever that might look like. And if you're someone who works independently really well, can take initiative and run with it, but also can work really intertwined with teams in reciprocal ways, this is the place for you. And folks, if you're able to balance values. I think I mentioned earlier that we're an independent office, and so and our mandate is systemic, and so we're looking for folks who are able to balance that idea of what it means to come with um, a justice orientation within the Human Rights Code, but also able to work at the systemic level and within the structure of who we are. As again, we derive our mandate from the Commissioner and the Human Rights Code. So someone who's able to balance that really carefully and navigate that tension. Um, Again, this is a team that's super qualified and exciting, and we challenge ourselves in really interesting ways. A lovely team, if I have to toot our own horn. And again, the engagement team specifically works across BC, so we have quite a bit of regional representation within our team itself. And the work stays interesting. It's a mixture of both doing intake oriented work and very admin focused, but also a lot of thinking creativity with some of the event pieces that come through. And because it is front facing, again, looking for folks who can come with that resilience in terms of being able to deal with public, but also recognizing fully this is it can be quite a heavy role to kind of hear stories and see what folks are going through in BC. And so Kate will speak, of course, to that a little bit later around supports we have around navigating some of those complexities to support you. But overall, that's kind of the quick summary. I wanted to really condense it in so we have time for questions at the end. But I see questions coming in. Please keep that coming through. And with that, I think I'm passing it over to you again, Kate.
Thank you, Chitta. That was a really great overview. It's an exciting and important role. So I'm excited about filling this role and sharing it with each of you. So I'll just speak to some high-level HR items, just looking at what we offer. Starting with this position is excluded from the union. Because we are an independent office of the Legislative Assembly, all of our positions are excluded. It's a permanent full-time position. It has a classification of administrative officer at an 18 level, and it's permanent full-time. So it includes comprehensive benefits such as vacation, starting at 20 days paid vacation per year, extended health and dental, as well as a defined employer-employee combined pension plan. And individuals in this position, as do all of our staff, have access to professional development opportunities. Due to the nature of our work, BCUHRC does have a specialized counseling program. That's, when work can be really tough at times, and we want to make sure that our employees have access to specialized support services when they need them. We also have an employee and family assistance program that offers 24/7 support services ranging from legal, financial, and mental health counseling services. And that's available to our staff as well as their household family members. We participate as an organization in the BC Public Service Pacific Leader Scholarship Program. And that provides funding for eligible employees who are seeking post-secondary education, including postgraduate degrees or certificates from recognized academic institutions. There's also a really big focus internally at BCUHRC for internal ongoing learning and development. Sometimes that learning is from other teams, where we have opportunities to gather as an organization and to hear and learn, from our colleagues. Sometimes it's at an in-person all-staff meeting where we might have an external expert come in and learn together on an important topic. And as Chitta mentioned, it's really about the work, the meaningful work, the opportunity to work. for an independent office and to contribute to systemic change in BC. I know I personally find this exceptionally rewarding. Our workplace is incredibly supportive. We have a great culture. So if that appeals to you, we want to hear from you. This is, as Chitta mentioned, it's a central role in order to do request management and provide, the best responses possible. It requires collaboration with others in the organization, and you will find a dedicated and talented group of people who are really fun to work with and really know a lot about human rights. We're constantly learning from each other and growing our knowledge and skills. The organization's fairly new. It started in 2019. We're not quite the startup that we were 5 years ago, but I would say we're still a fairly new organization. And that can be really fun too, in establishing like new ways of doing things and always looking for ways to improve the way we do our work. As Chitta mentioned, there's a new 5-year strategic plan on our website. I encourage you to check that out. So the job posting that's on our careers page is a really helpful resource for reference. I encourage you to refer to it throughout our hiring process because it gives a really good overview of the purpose of the role, the type of work that it will do, as well as the qualification requirements. The posting will close on August 24th at 5 p.m. And we usually wait until the closing date to begin the first stage of our hiring process, which is application screening. So you will get, a thank you confirmation for sending in your application, and we will be reviewing them against the requirements stated in the JD. So please clearly share in your application how, when, and where you meet each of the requirements. Candidates who meet all of the required qualifications will be considered for the next stage of our hiring process. And if you meet preference criteria, please be sure to share that with us. You'll see questions in our online application process around both required qualifications and preferred qualifications. So we encourage you to share as much as you would like with us in that process. We also do require a resume and a cover letter for this position. There's no page limit, but with that in mind, we do ask you just to be compactful and specific in how your experience aligns with the qualifications for the role. And the interview stage is really the opportunity where we'll get to know more about each other. And that's where we'll be looking to understand skills, abilities, experience outlined in the job. It's possible, depending on how many people apply for the role and how many qualified people apply for the role, that we may need to introduce an assignment or a presentation as a part of our evaluation process. And so we will let you know if those apply along the way. You'll hear a lot from us throughout each stage of the process, so please check your email. If your contact information changes, please feel free to let us know. You'll notice at each stage in our communication that we will ask you to reach out and let us know if you're facing any barriers or have any difficulties that might prevent you from participating fully in our hiring process, whether that be an interview or an assignment. So if this applies to you and you're experiencing any barriers, I just want you to know that there are accessibility options. We will take all reasonable steps to remove barriers and provide supports and options for you to participate to the full extent possible in our process. Asking questions or asking for accommodation is not going to negatively impact your application. And we will try our best to be as flexible as we can while respecting that we do have a timeline to fill the position. So if you have questions around the preference and equity statement in our job posting, I'm going to speak a little bit to that now, which is to complement the diversity of our team at BCHRC. Preference may be given to applicants who are Indigenous, Black, or racialized, people with gender diverse identities or expressions, diverse sexual orientations, and or people with disabilities. We are wanting to be intentional about hiring inclusively with an equity lens to ensure that we have a diverse team with lived experience with human rights for our organization to be successful. It's really important that our staff um, understand and have the diverse experience in line with the communities that we serve in BC. A fundamental operating principle at BCOHRC is nothing about us without us. So those who have lived experience with human rights really bring a valuable perspective that is very much needed to inform and support our work and the commissioner's work. So with that, I appreciate that it may not feel like a safe thing to share lived experience and or self-identity information during a hiring process, but that's something that we really are wanting to break free of and to create that safety and to welcome that information for you because it is important to us. You don't need to include a separate document. You could touch on this in your cover letter or answer the preferred qualification questions in our online application process. All applications are kept confidential. The only people reviewing that information is the hiring managers and or HR. So Chitta mentioned conflict of interest. I'll try and be really quick on this one. We do ask shortlisted candidates to share with us any activities that could be perceived or represent actual conflicts of interest related to the commissioner's work, her high profile role and or the work of the office. That is a conversation that we usually introduce at the interview stage and before an offer is made. Many people who are drawn to BCOHRC's work have gained really valuable experience through their social justice and advocacy work. And we really value that experience. We appreciate those roots in community and those deeply held beliefs, and they do align with the commissioner's work. We just need to make sure that that work is not possibly going to be perceived as a conflict of interest, and we just work to avoid that where we can. So that does mean that down the path of this hiring process, successful candidates could be asked to step away from some activities that they're involved in. It could be governance or um, engagement activities with boards, stuff like that. So we can talk about that a little further along. So with that, I hope I've addressed some of the questions that you might have around the hiring process or, HR items, and we'd like to address any questions that you have for us. So
Kate, I've
let's,
got some questions coming in that maybe I can read to you on the topic
okay,
of HR
okay.
application process. It's a question from someone around expected start date for this position.
Yeah, great question. We're looking to fill this position in the fall. So I would say with the posting closing on August 24th, it usually takes a couple of weeks to review the applications. So that would take us, into maybe the middle of September and then interviews, like it likely would be sometime in October. It could even be early November. It really just depends on the volume of applications that we get and how long it takes to get through them. And if we have one interview, or sometimes we like to have a second interview. So we will be very proactive in our communications with candidates, and we really do try to provide as much clarity around the timeline as possible to give you a sense, because we respect that, you have busy schedules too.
Absolutely. It's a hard one. I know I struggle with that too. I know we talk about that internally quite a lot of we move as fast as we can, and sometimes we have a lot to read and want to make very careful decisions in terms of how we proceed. So appreciate that. And this next question might actually be related to that, Kate, is around AI and use of AI. That this individual is saying that a lot of companies are using AI to do vetting processes for hiring. Is that something that we do?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, yes, great question. Thank you for that. So, we have recently introduced a new applicant tracking system, and this has been a very important topic in choosing which system to implement and what functionality to use. As of now, BCHRC does not use any AI functionality to screen applications. They are reviewed by human beings. And that is why we ask for candidates to be as kind of specific as possible in their applications and how they meet the criteria, because there are people who are reviewing your applications.
Absolutely. I can guarantee that I am one of the people who read things, so I do appreciate clarity and concise information. This one maybe I can take. This is a question about how many events per year are there, and are there any venues that are off limits? This one might vary a bit. I think the role really supports events that might be from the scale of webinars that we do and public webinars that we have. So one of our offerings is educational resources, educational learning opportunities through webinars online, and that there is about I want to say 5 to 10 a year. I haven't done the count right now, but those require some level of coordination internally, and then depending on what's in the work plan for the year, there might be larger scale events where we might look at releases for materials that we've produced, or internal staffing events, that type of thing. So it I'd say small to medium events more frequent. In the 5 to 10 range, and then maybe a larger event once or twice a year, um, with the caveat that this will vary depending again on the year and what the workload has in plan. Um, in terms of venues that are off limits, that's kind of contextual. I think we're looking for folks who can bring analysis around what's appropriate and relevant for events that we host in person, uh, both in terms of uh, regional appropriateness, accessibility, all sorts of analysis that we'd want to have for specific events. A lot of pieces in terms of webinars are, of course, online on Zoom right now, but that's always a changing platform in terms of technology. Uh, Kate, this question I'm going to pass to you. It's around where someone should submit their resume. There's no email indicated on the website.
So we've actually just recently moved away from receiving email applications, and we are using an online application system. So instead of sending it to us by email, the instructions for submitting your application is on our career page. So you'll basically click into the job opportunity and complete an online questionnaire and submit your application by uploading your resume and cover letter for our review.
Absolutely. And there are, I think the questionnaire piece is interesting because that's one way that we're trying to help our screening process is to get the information we want quickly as well and make sure we're making really informed decisions on who screens through. So folks, like, there are just, when I looked at it, there was 2 pages. So there's the first page where when you get to the application form where you put all your information in, and the second page is where you put your resume, cover letter, and there's questions to answer with very specific information required. And I think all the questions are posted on that platform. So I'd say recommend just taking a peek at what the questions are so you prepare ahead of time and aren't surprised the last minute when you go to submit at the deadline and go, oh gosh, there's things to write. Um, this one might, maybe I can take this one. This is a question that says, for someone coming from a strong event and stakeholder engagement background, what would you recommend they learn or become familiar with to be successful in this environment? It's a great question. One of the pieces I think we focus on for anyone who comes into the role is just getting familiarity with our office and what we do and what we don't do. Again, I mentioned earlier that there's a piece around having clarity around how we respond to requests. A lot of requests we get because of the human rights landscape in BC, with us, the tribunal, and the clinic, and other bodies that do work, is that we might get complaints come to us, and that might not be appropriate for us to respond to and address, because that's not our role. Or we might get questions that we may or may not answer depending what we do and what our function is. And so I'd say just familiarity with what our office is and what our office isn't is going to be kind of crucial to success. And knowing the landscape of what services exist in BC as well is going to be really critical to that. It's hard when you get emails that come through that are fairly detailed and very personal and hard, share a lot of hardship. And again, because our role is systemic and we don't do individual complaints, unlike other commissions in the country, we have to refer those to the tribunal or other relevant bodies. So that's what I would offer. So
Mhm.
asking this question.
Yeah, I might just add on to that one because it is such a big question.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, in addition to what Chitta's provided, also just thinking about, what you know or don't know about, taking a trauma-informed approach in request management, as well as for the event coordination and management piece, really accessibility, I think, is an important one, and just applying that lens and ensuring that, participation in events is accessible.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks for adding that in, Kate. There's one more question or two more questions in here so far. So folks, if you
Travel's
see
for
any of the
you.
questions coming in, please keep adding that in. Um, this question asks that travel was mentioned in the posting. Is there a requirement around the province or just around the Lower Mainland? Um, I can take this. Feel free to jump in. It's really, I mean, it is the whole province. It, again, varies depending on what we're offering and what the needs are in the work plan. I think most often it is the Lower Mainland and might be the island. But we do have staff across BC and we serve the whole province, and we have projects that are coming up that I think might require travel across BC.
Is there anything you could share, Chita, maybe just in terms of like frequency of travel, like how
Yeah.
often, would this position travel?
Um, I can't say with confidence.
Okay.
I'm gonna say maybe 3 times a year,
Okay, that gives
up
us
to. I'm gonna put that as a marker out there. It might be more or less. Again, it depends on what comes up. It's hard to say because we're kind of in the phase right now of our work where there's things that are getting to a stage where we're gonna figure out some stuff. So it's a good time to join, and that will be part of the figuring out stuff. And of course, travel is always dependent, of course, on capacity, interest,
Mhm.
and budget. So. Um, that's my answer, not an answer for folks.
Okay, well, hopefully that helps. It's required, but it's not often.
Yeah, you're not going
Um,
every week. The role is quite a bit of a balance of, when Case mentioned, request management is a word that we use internally, really a lot of email, phone calls, intake pieces, which is it's about 60% of the job, I'd say, and then it's about 40% that's really logistics focused. So you might not have a lot of front-facing work, but it's a mixture, and it varies depending on the cycle of work we're in for our projects. Uh,
Fair.
there's one more question here, and so folks, if there's more questions, please jump in. And this Kate, I'll send this one to you.
Okay.
How often do you post job openings? Are there any other job postings coming soon?
Yeah, so great question. I love the interest in working with us. We don't really have a set response in terms of how often. I would say hiring does seem to be fairly active in our organization. Sometimes, we have staff who are, embarking on parental leave. There's always opportunity, surfacing when it does. So I would say I can't really confirm with certainty like how often, but all of our job postings are on our careers webpage on our website. So I encourage you to regularly check it for any new postings that come up.
Absolutely. Oh, I forgot to change the slide to question and answer slide. There we go. Multitasking is hard sometimes.
It is hard. It is hard.
Um,
I
there's
think
one,
that that's all the questions, although I do
there's one
see
more.
one
What's
hand
more?
up. But I think that the chat has been dismantled. So
Yeah,
if you have your hand up and you have a question, I encourage you to use the Q&A function if you have a question, and we'll do our best to answer it.
yeah. There's two more that's come in, Kate, so maybe I'll bounce these out to folks. This one's about travel. Are there any considerations or accommodations for those who might have disabilities? Will those who have disabilities who can't travel as much be penalized? Really great question. I appreciate you asking that in such a transparent way to us. Um, no, there's no penalization for that. We have a duty to accommodate staff who work in our office and in BC. And so while there's travel that comes with the position, there's always going to be considerations around what the individual requires to be able to work in healthy ways and safe ways. And I can almost think of very few instances where travel is mandatory and must happen in a very specific way, and there's always ways to find a solution around it.
Yeah, great answer, Chitta. The only thing I'll add to that is there's also um, a fair bit of event coordination work that can happen, from a desk, in terms of like planning, coordinating, organizing. So yeah, we are an accessible employer. Any employee who, if they require accommodation, we will explore the accommodation process and accommodate wherever we can.
Absolutely. Ooh, a lot more coming in now.
And then more.
All right, let's go through these. How many stages of interviews are there, and are there opportunities to grow within the organization?
So really I'm just gonna jump in on this one. Stages of interviews, it really just depends on the volume of applications and on the candidate pool. So it could be one, it could be two. It's unlikely that it would be more than two interviews, but I have seen three in rare cases. Um, we usually interview virtually, if I can share some information on that. And opportunities to grow within the organization, definitely. If you saw earlier the slide on the org chart, I mean, this is actually what's really kind of exciting about this position is that there is a really nice pathway. There's an engagement coordinator, there's engagement advisors, and there's an engagement manager. So um, there's room for growth and development directly within this team. And then if and where there's transferable, relatable skills, whether that's on our education team, we have other positions in, our research team, policy. So the answer is yes, there's opportunities to grow in the organization. It just really depends on the requirements for the role and how one's experience and qualifications align.
Absolutely. A few more. I'm just thinking if we can group them together. There's an accommodation question, or sorry, question around accessibility and disability. And it says, could you share a bit more about what is considered disability in terms of accessibility? Sorry, Kate, I'm looking at you for that one, but I can also
Yeah,
jump in if
I'm
you'd like
just
me
sorry.
to.
I'm just can you share about what is considered a disability? I think that's a really big question to answer, like on this call. I think um, there are many disabilities. There's also often times for accommodation that doesn't necessarily pertain to a disability. So I just want to be clear that whether it's a disability or, a medical condition, um, when there's a requirement to accommodate, that BCHRC is committed to upholding its legal obligation to accommodate. So if you have a disability or if you have a medical condition or you're facing a barrier that might prevent you from being able to perform the full extent of a role, or in this hiring process, just please reach out and let us know, and we can initiate an accommodation process and talk more about your needs and what we can do in response. Because it's so individual. I think that's all I'll say for now. And in terms of contacting us, yes. I'm trying to get to my email here, which I've got too many screens open.
If you've got that
Um,
next slide as well, I can also pop that up if that's helpful.
Thanks. Yeah, we do have, oh, here we go. Thank you. It's right here on the
Here,
slide,
I've got it.
our recruitment inbox. So this is just a central email inbox that you can direct any questions following this webinar about this hiring posting. So recruitment@bchumanrights.ca.
Absolutely. Many more questions coming through. Thanks, folks. This one's about is driving a car required for the position? I don't think we've listed it as a requirement in the position, right, Kate? That's correct.
No, it
So
is
no.
not.
And this next question says 2 years of relevant experience in human rights service agency. Can this include a combo of paid work, volunteer, and lived experience? I'd say a combination of paid work and volunteer experience makes sense. And if I think there's a question specific to lived experience and how that feeds in. But to be explicit with it, I'd say paid and volunteer experience would be probably the most relevant, unless you see an example where it might be more relevant. One of the reasons we have that question is really just looking to see. We know that the type of work that we do as an office is probably most relatable to one of the human service agencies type of mandate, and that's particularly why we want to ask that question versus others. We know that folks might have other places where you have to interface with public and bring trauma-informed approaches and do a lot of the functions of what this job might do, but we want to understand the setting that you work within. Uh, this question is, would an application with a bachelor's degree and 1 year of relevant experience be considered? Kate, I'm looking at you to see if you've got.
Oh, this might be the best group of questions I've ever had in a recruitment webinar. Thank you, everyone. These are good. Um, I'm going to say it's possible, but it really depends. So you will see in the job posting, which I know you have because you asked a really good question in terms of the position requires a minimum of 2 years related experience. So it really depends on the candidates. So sometimes it's really just a matter of, if there's many candidates who apply for the role who meet the qualification requirements fully, then the hiring panel might shortlist, a group that fully meet the requirements. If we find in the pool of candidates that there's more people who um, mostly meet the qualification requirements and maybe not fully, then the hiring panel, will consider that and decide, if how they want to proceed. So I'm sorry I can't give you a more direct, concrete answer on that, but I hope that that explains the approach.
And just for clarity, for folks, the posting does say that the minimum requirement with that is a bachelor's degree plus 2 years. And so the question specifically asking if it's one less year is okay. And so yeah, if we do want to know if you meet the experience very clearly indirectly when we're screening through. So um I won't add more there.
Thank you. So I've
Um
seen this volunteer question.
yeah,
We do not post volunteer opportunities. We do post student co-op opportunities. We participate in a co-op program, so if that applies to you or someone you know, I encourage you to check that out.
Yep. This question I can take. This one's coming. Maybe the flip of the question about the degree and the 1 year of experience. The question is, does having more than the required 2 to 4 years of professional experience negatively affect one's application? Not necessarily. No. Again, we are looking for just the experiences they bring and understanding the candidate as a whole. So it would negatively impact the applicant. Uh, Kate, maybe this question I might pass to you. Is this a newly created position or is this filled a current position that is established?
So this is an existing position. It is going to be vacated, and we are planning to fill it. So I hope that that answers the position. It's an existing function. It's established, and you've got an exciting role to step into.
Absolutely. And this one I can take if that's good. Could you tell us a little more about the day-to-day? What does the role tend to look like week to week? I don't want to keep saying it's going to vary depending on what goes on, but that might be my default. The general kind of bucket again, I'd say is it's the functions are a mixture of really keeping up with our requests that we get in from public and external folks. This might be emails with questions that come through. This might be requests for our team or the commission to attend events and or meet workshop requests, whatever that might be. And so I'd say about, again, 60% of the job is really just managing that. And that might be emails, phone calls, returning voicemails, and doing internal kind of coordination around some of the more complex responses that are required. So that's a good chunk of the work. And that also, of course, spins out into drafting responses, tracking all that data, doing some of the reporting elements of it. It's all, again, listed in kind of the day-to-day functions. And then about 40%, I'd say, give or take, is supporting teams with different events. So it might be that we have a webinar coming up next week, sorry, not next week, in like 3 weeks, and we need you to help prepare some pieces, tech pieces for that. Or it might be there's a workshop coming up in 2 months that we have to start planning for right now. So more project-based work that comes through. And so it does, again, that 40% it kind of creates a bit of um, a space for interesting kind of experiences, and that there's no similar day or no exact same day for this position. But that breakdown, I think, kind of helps to imagine where you might spend more of your time or not, and hope that's helpful. I see more coming in.
Yeah, one about budget. How are we
Oh,
funded? Great question. I can take this one, Chitta, if you want. So we are an independent office of the Legislative Assembly, yet we are still within the BC government, the provincial government orbit. So we do put together kind of our budget plan and forecasting and bring that the commissioner, deputy commissioner, bring that forward to the special standing committee, the legislative assembly, and make a case. And we do receive an appropriated budget from the provincial government. So hopefully that answers that. And then yes, we do. Our position is posted. Generally. So it's open to external candidates as well as internal candidates.
absolutely. It's a comment about no similar day makes me smile. It just made me chuckle a bit. Yes, we love that. And there's a comment of also someone who joined late or a few minutes late to this session. Again, it's recorded and we posted to our website, so feel free to catch up on what you missed.
Yeah. Well, excellent questions, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us and to learn more about this opportunity. We're excited to learn more about you and welcome you to send in your applications. And again, if you have questions about the posting or how to submit your application, you can contact the recruitment at bchumanrights.ca email. And with that, we wish you a great end of the week and a beautiful weekend.
Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.